Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tronage, and today we're going to be talking about FPV Crate for March 2021. And I gotta say, the box is, feels pretty solid in here. So if you want to see what's inside this box, then you're gonna have to stick around. FPV Crate, March 2021. We are coming at you. It's feeling pretty solid, but before we get into it, I just wanted to give a little bit of my thoughts here. And that is that typically FPV Crate, when they would send out their boxes for March, let's say, they wouldn't arrive the last day of March. Typically, that's when a quad box would arrive. FPV Crate usually, historically at least, would arrive maybe a week. Like the middle to the third week of a month is when they would arrive. My impression was that they were trying to be faster than Quadbox. But here we are arriving today on the last day of March 31st. So again, as I've said in previous videos, the fact that there is no other competition, there is now no reason to rush, because what are you rushing to get out? Because there's no one to try to beat to the punch. So they're just like, we can just, we'll just relax. Hang it. You know what I'm saying? Like already there, I feel like there's a little bit of slippage going and there's less priority about getting these things out earlier in the month because there's no reason to. So that's my first observation. The second observation was, if you missed my February unboxing, you can check the link up there, but it was a lot of duty without having a way to say it. It was not good. The contents were good. It's just the value was, at least in my opinion, but you can check that out and, form your own opinion. So that's why I am pretty excited to now get into March to see if, they listened, if, they're like, all right, we realized we did something a little bit, not so great. So let's make up for it and have something really good. Because that's what these are. These are mystery boxes, because you're sacrificing choice to get value. So last month, I really didn't get much value for sacrificing my choice. So I'm hoping this month I do. So with that being said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to bring you up in close. We'll do an unboxing live and in person so you get my genuine reactions of what we're looking at. Then we'll do a cost analysis to see really what kind of value is in this box and is it worth getting, and then I'll give you my thoughts. But before I do any of that, make sure you slam that subscribe button. While you're at it, hit that bell icon. It makes finding my videos a whole heck of a lot easier. It helps support the channel and it keeps you in the know when I post content like this one. And if you've noticed, we are very, 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 very close to hitting that 3K mark. So please, if you have not subscribed already, it would mean the world to me if you subscribe, and that way we can cross into that 3K mark. That would be awesome, and I feel like I'd have to do some. That's a big milestone. So if we can get there, I guarantee we got to do something special. So more on that when we get to the 3K mark. That being said, why don't you come on in? Let's crack it open. FPV Crate, let's go. All right, so we have the same box graphics from the last box, so this might be the new standard. So let's give it the little flipperoo. Let's get the knife. Let's cut this buttery seal. Oh, skates across that like ice. We open up our little flap here. We flip it back around. We get everything lined up, and then we send it. Okay, so to start off with, this is why it felt so solid, because there's some sort of bag of some sort with the Team Black Sheep logo on it. And in fact, it looks like the entire box is inside this bag. Underneath, we do have the spoiler alerts, and that is it. So let's move these to the side for a moment. Let's take a peek at the sticker sheet that is included. Very dark, but still kind of cool. A lot of like screens and stuff with stuff going on. And I'm holding it upside down, I noticed, because I see the FPV logo in the bottom here. Now it makes a little even more sense. We got like a character up here with all the like wires going up to the different screens. Pretty cool. I feel like a missed opportunity because there just seems to be nothing up there besides black. So either maybe more graphic or some other, I don't know. Seems like you didn't need to have all this black at the top. It is intriguing how they do these like scene shots though, and then each little piece you can kind of pull out because it is little die cut action. So looking quickly over it, the actual stickers are this guy and then each of these screens. Not even this back screen is that's just background. So the stickers on this sticker sheet are just this guy and each of these little squares, and that's it. So kind of a little confused on the this, but maybe what's inside will make more sense. All right, so I'll move the box out of the way since we just have this Team Black Sheep bag. Looks to be like you could use it as a transmitter bag. Maybe if you're flying something smaller, you could put in there. It's got a nice little handle. It's got a lot of zippers on here. There's two compartments here. Looks like a thinner compartment and a thicker compartment. So let's open up the thinner compartment first and see if there's anything even in that section. The answer is no. But it is nice. Let me show you here. It's got all little compartments for like maybe tools or whatever. It's got elastic areas here, little zipper pouches with mesh that you can put stuff in. So there's a lot of like utilitarian use for this. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's zip that up and let's see what's actually in the main compartment, which I'm sure is going to be our actual. All right, my zipper's a little, all right, there we go. Got it going. All right, let's open this up. All right, so we got some Ethics 2-bladed props, very intriguing. Very accustomed to receiving 3-bladed props. So we have peanut butter and jelly Ethics props here in a 2-bladed style, which is, I don't know if I'm digging that or not because I'm not really fond of the 2-bladed style, but maybe these are like, you know, phenomenal, who knows. Let's take a look at the actual sticker here if you care to see that information. But they are the Ethics P3B peanut butter and jelly, so P3B, whatever that stands for. So I'll look it up, I'll give you the information about it when I do my cost analysis. But if you're not aware, Ethics props, they are just HQ props rebranded with the Ethics logo. And I doubt these 2-bladed props are any different. But I'm intrigued by the 2-bladed props. I wonder if this is going to be a hit or a miss on that front. All right, next up, let's go with this guy here. What do we got? I don't know what we got. It's Team Black Sheep something. So let's open this up and see what we got here. Okay. Oh, I think I do know what this is. Okay. I think it's a landing pad. Yes, so that's what this, because these are going to be the stakes to hold down the landing pad. And then this is going to like unfold, I guess, to be a landing pad. Yeah, and it's actually pretty large. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. It's a big landing pad that does say Team Black Sheep Serious Toys. So it is definitely cool because especially with the snow or rainy weather, you don't necessarily want to be landing in wet grass. I do have a landing pad of my own that I'll show that I use. We'll take a look at that later on when we're doing the cost analysis to compare. This is definitely bigger, but it also looks like it takes more work to set up. All right, and lastly, we have the T-Motor Pacer. Looks like to be a 50 amp ESC by the picture on the front. Yeah, 50 amp 4-in-1. Here's your little sticker on the side. And if you want the stats from the back of the box, there you go. Now it is a pretty decent sized unit here. So it is a decent sized box that this is coming in. Just to go over, it's probably just because inside here, not only do we have the ESC, but it also comes with extra gummies. It comes with 14 gauge wire with an XT60 connector on it. It comes with one piece of signal wire 60 millimeters, and it comes with a low ESR capacitor. So there is a lot of goodies in here. And one thing I'm also seeing, I don't know if you can see that, but there is a nice paper manual in there. I'm very fond of paper manuals. I mean, everyone can go online and get the information, but when you're building, it's maybe nice to have a piece of paper and not have to actually print it out and stuff. Plus, when you go to use this, you don't have to go hunting and finding, is this the right one? If it's in the box, you know that that's going to be the correct manual for this product. All right, and then back to our little box here. It does come with these little dividers here, which is pretty sweet. It comes with 3 of them, it looks like. They are Velcro, and they span, let's see here. So what you can do is you can do one of these actions, stick it to that side, stick it to that side, so you can make like a little divider like that. And then you can take this little guy and go like that. And then you can take this guy and do one of these actions like that. And you can create little compartments for whatever you need. It's totally customizable, which is a nice thing so that things aren't rubbing or bumping into each other. So you could use this as a goggle bag. You could use it as a transmitter bag. You could even use it if you're flying, you know, mini drones or whatever. You could create one section for just your little drone, and, you know, off you go. So that is pretty cool. It's better than just, you know, some like a lunch box. This actually is nice and on the top here. And I say lunchbox because some of these are just, they're just a zippered bag. This actually has like netted compartments here. You could put like manuals or maybe like frequency cheat sheets in here. So there's definitely a lot of compartments and a lot of use that you could do with this bag versus some of the other bags that we may have gotten in the past. So that's always nice. So let me take these apart real quick. There we go, put them to the side, and let's see, to recap, we have the general purpose bag, 50 amp ESC. I'm gonna call it a landing tarp, not a landing pad. I don't know what it's actually called by Team Black Sheep. We'll look it up in a moment, but I'm gonna call it a landing tarp for now because it's pretty big. So we'll call it that for now. We got the 3 sets of Ethics 2-bladed props, which is a question mark in my opinion. We have the sticker sheet and we have the cheat sheet. All right, let's run some numbers and do a cost analysis and see really what this box is worth. All right, guys, I ran the numbers and actually this box checked out to be pretty decent. But before we get into that, I just want to let you know I am going to be switching up the format a little bit. Normally, since we used to have quad box, during whichever box came in second, I would do like a comparison comparing the 2 boxes, and we talked about totals and percentages and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like the last video without quad box being there, it sort of left me hanging. Like I didn't really know the totals of what was going on with FPV Crate. So I thought this time, rather than doing a comparison, because there's nothing to really compare to, but it is still valuable information. So after we talk about this box, we will be talking about FPV Crate as a whole, looking at the current amount of percentage saved, all that fun stuff, as well my projected outlook for 2021 as a whole for the year of FPV Crate. So stay tuned for that after we talk about this box. Speaking of this box, now let's talk about this box. Here's your cost analysis. Now we'll go through these line by line and give you my thoughts. And I also like to use this sometimes as an opportunity to teach you something that you may not know. So first up, we have these Ethics props, and they are a bi-blade. They're 5130 props. They're in the PB&J style, which is just the coloring, making peanut butter and jelly. But they are a bi-blade. Bi-blade meaning 2. There are tri-blades, which have 3, and there's quad blades have 4, and there's also exotic ones that have even more than that. But typically in our hobby, you find bi-blades, tri-blades, and quad blades, and usually 9 times out of 10, most people end up using a tri-blade. So a bi-blade is not as popular, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It just really is determined by what your use case scenario is for what you're trying to accomplish. So I would like to take a moment to just explain the differences between bi, tri, and quad blades. There's 3 factors you need to think about when it comes to a blade, okay? The first is thrust. How much thrust does that blade produce? So with a bi-blade, and you have 2 things, it's going to produce a certain amount of force. If you stick a 3rd one on there, it's going to produce more thrust because there's now 3 of them pushing. And if you put a 4th one on there, it's going to produce even more thrust because now there's 4 things pushing. So quad blades versus a bi-blade versus a tri-blade in the middle, the more blades, more thrust. Okay, you got that? All right, store that in the back of your mind for a moment. Next, we need to think about air resistance, because if you think about it, the more stuff you got pushing through the air, the more resistance it's going to impact that. So therefore, it's going to become a little bit less efficient because you're putting more work to turn something, okay? So with 2 blades on your prop, it's much more efficient than with 3 blades because you have one less thing that you're trying to push through the air. And a quad blade or a 4-bladed prop, you now have 4 things you're trying to push through the air. So it becomes even less efficient than that. So the less blades, more efficient because you're not pushing much through the air. More blades, less efficient because now you're trying to push more stuff through the air. Okay, you got that so far? Now put that in the back of your head. One more aspect of a prop you got to think about. That's inertia. It's a fancy word, but it basically just means that something that's not moving will take a certain amount of force to get it to start moving. And something that is moving will take a certain amount of force to get it to stop moving. And it's relative to about how big and heavy that thing is. You know, it's a lot easier to stop like a little crumb rolling down a hill than it is to stop, you know, a giant boulder or a car. You can kind of grasp that. Same as with these props. The fewer the blades, the lighter and less mass there is to that blade, so therefore it can stop and start and change directions easier. A 4-bladed prop has more stuff. Therefore it weighs more, has more, and it's less responsive to stopping and starting and changing directions, okay? With a 3-bladed prop kind of being in the middle. So with those 3 aspects, we have the thrust, we have the resistance or efficiency, let's call it efficiency, the efficiency of the prop, and the inertia of the prop. So a 2-bladed prop like these that we received would produce the least thrust, but would be the most efficient and have the lowest inertia, so they would be quick to respond. A 4-bladed prop of the same pitch, diameter, all that fun stuff. A 4-bladed prop would have the most thrust, but would also be the least efficient and would have the most inertia because it would take a lot more effort to start it and stop it and change directions. That's why I feel like the community has settled on 3-bladed props, because it's sort of like that Goldilocks hybrid in the middle. It's not as inefficient as a 4-bladed prop, but it produces more thrust than a 2-bladed prop. That's why I think 3-bladed props are sort of the normal as what you'll normally see. However, if your goal is just to be cruising around, you're not really worrying about super precise acrobatics, you're not racing, you want to have, you know, longer battery life because you want to increase your efficiency, then a 2-bladed prop is by all means a fine and acceptable answer. Also remember, there is going to be less thrust, so it's going to feel less punchy. It's going to feel kind of a little bit sluggish. But if you're doing maybe more of a cinematic thing and it's more just, you know, hovering, and maybe as you're just learning to fly, these might be a good option too, because it's a little bit, you know, cruising, very cruising. So 2-bladed props, not necessarily the normal for the hobby, but still a viable option for someone out there, just as much as a 4-bladed prop would be an option for some out there, depending on your motors, your props, your pitch, what your size of your props are, whether you're a 4.9, 5.0, 5.1. These are all many factors that all get added up into one equation, which is your build. So these may be great for some. They may be terrible for others based on, you know, what you want to do while flying. So some people will love them, some people will hate them, and your mileage may vary based on, you know, what you want to get out of flying. So, but that's why there are 2-bladed props, and that's kind of how to decide whether these are right for you. Next up, we have the Team Black Sheep gear pouch. And I have to say, as far as a gear pouch goes, I'm pretty impressed with it. I mean, it's well designed. It's not just like we have received in the past gear bags or pouches or whatever you want to call it that were more of just a zippered compartment. You could have used it simply as a lunchbox. There was no anything special about it. It's just basically a bag with a zipper on it. Period, end of story. This is a little bit more thought out, I feel, because you do have this first compartment that has lots of areas to put stuff, or to put tools, to maybe put SD cards or spare parts or whatever you want. And then it has this second area that's a much bigger compartment. You do have these little dividers that are Velcro that you can put wherever you want. It does have this big zippered pouch mesh area there. So there is a lot of flexibility to this. But I also have to say that this is not where the story ends with gear bags, because I don't think any pilot out there who's, I mean, maybe if you're just starting out, this would be sufficient, but someone who's been doing it for a while, you'll quickly outgrow this as being your only gear bag, because you have to think about what you're bringing out. If you go to the field, at minimum, you're bringing goggles, you're bringing a transmitter, you're bringing a quad, and batteries, okay? Now, there's no way you can fit all of that into this. You might fit your transmitter in here, you might fit your goggles in here, and if you're flying small craft, you might fit your craft in here. Not at the same time, mind you, just kind of one at a time. Or you could use this sort of like as your accessories, spare props, tools, maybe a frame kit in case you crash, if you want to do an on-the-field repair. But you'll quickly, this won't be your only go-to, the only thing I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna go to the field now. No, you're not gonna be able to take everything, so you might need multiples of these. And to carry a whole bunch of small bags, it might be easier just to carry a big bag. So I'd just like to show you what I currently use. I got one of these big old Lowepros that I use for my bringing to the field. And as you can see, this thing is much bigger, but it holds everything that I need when I go to the field, when I go to fly. I can put my batteries in there. Actually, side note, I put my batteries actually in a Army surplus ammo crate thing because it's made of metal. So if something goes wrong with the batteries, it's in metal, it's self-contained, it's airtight, yada, yada, yada. But I also have my goggles in there. I have my transmitter in there. I have all my spare parts. I have field repair stuff. I have everything I need in there. I even have like a little netbook laptop in there in case I need to do something with beta flight. And for quads, as you've seen many, you have these little strappies on the outside here that you then strap your quads to the outside so that you can basically just grab and go. I grab this bag, I grab my battery case, and I go. So how does this fit into that? Well, if you're more into the smaller things like tiny whoops or, like the Beta 65, 75, 85s, all those smaller, 3-inch and under type style, this might be more of what you need to just grab and go, because maybe you could fit your craft in here. Maybe you're using a much smaller controller. You can fit that in here. You could live in this for something of a smaller size. But again, you'd be kind of cramped, and I feel like you'd probably want something a little bit bigger. So where do I see this getting used? I see it really used as sort of like a supplemental bag, maybe storing spare parts, tools, that sort of thing. I don't see it really being a primary source of where you're going to put gear. Overall build quality, I think, is great. I think the design is great, and I'm gonna see if I can work it into some of my things. Maybe if I can figure out a way to fit it into my big bag, I can use this sort of like as a supplement, where if I'm using the big bag, I just pull this out and then I have a smaller selection versus just opening up this giant thing and then trying to work from that. But it's definitely cool. I definitely think it's a good product. I just kind of feel like it's sort of a weird location as far as size and use case for our hobby. But your use may vary. Next up, we have the Team Black Sheep Fly Mat is what they're calling it. It's really just like a landing pad. So the dimensions are 43 inches by 28 inches. They listed in centimeters, so that's why the numbers in inches sound sort of odd. Generally speaking, just to make it easy, it's 4 feet by 2 feet. The 2 feet by 4 feet sized thing that you can lay on the ground. Now, I've done this before. I actually have a landing pad. In fact, let me pull mine out real quick here. So in my bag, I always carry a landing pad, just because you never know if you're gonna be in wet grass or what your conditions are, because when you're in the air, it's not so, if the weather's great, you're fine. It's when you land on the ground where moisture and stuff can wreak havoc on your quad. So now the type of landing pad that I prefer is this type. Now it comes folded up and you just go boom, and now you have this giant thing. Now this is not by all means 4 feet by 2 feet. I would say this is probably about like 3, well, yeah. Well, let's measure it. All right, so I just measured this and it is roughly, it's 32 inches diameter from end to end. Roughly, let's just call that, because if it was 36 inches, that would be 3 feet. So just to make things easy to figure out, let's talk feet versus feet. So the Team Black Sheep one is 4 feet by 2 feet. This one is 3 feet round. I'm gonna talk about the differences between these two. So first of all, this one is, I love, you pull it out of the bag, it springs into action, and you can just lay this, throw it down. You can actually throw it like a Frisbee, let it land in the grass, and because there's this metal spring around it, it's sort of weighted, and it holds it down. And it's very rare, because if it's windy enough to blow this away, it's probably too windy for you to be flying. Typically, I don't really even have to stake it down. I just throw it out, use it when I'm done, pick it up, and I'm done. And putting it away is super easy. You just give it a little twist, and it really all compacts right back down, and then you throw it back into your bag. Now, granted, the bag that this comes in is a lot bigger than the Team Black Sheep one. Let me zip it up here and I'll show you the comparison. You know, we're talking, you know, the bag that this has for the stakes is about the same size as this Team Black Sheep one. But this one I feel is much more convenient, because this one you have to lay it all out, and then I guarantee you it will blow away in a little wisp of air. So you'd then have to then stake it all down, and then when you're done, you'd have to unstake it. So for me, I feel like this one's a little bit easier to deal with, even though it does take up a little bit more room in the gear bag. Also, comparing them, generally speaking, if we want to think about feet, something that's 4 feet by 2 feet averages about 3 feet square, right? Because you got 4 feet and 2 feet. The average of 4 plus 2 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. So the average of 4 and 2 is 3. So something that's 4 by 2 is about the same size as something that's 3 foot square. Well, this is 3 feet round. So yes, you're missing the little corner parts. Roughly speaking, you know, I'm not trying to be very specific here with the math, but generally speaking, this is about the same size. Also, if you think about it, when you're flying, you may not always come in the same way. So if you come in the short wise, you have very little landing pad versus if you're coming in on the long wise. With a circle, it really doesn't matter what direction you're approaching your landing pad, you'll have the same amount of space to land in. Generally speaking, I think landing pads as a whole are great. I think that this one is pretty decent because it does pack up, and if you didn't have one, now you have an opportunity to have one. Although for the same price you could buy that one, personally, I would kind of go and buy something like this because it's just a lot easier. It springs out, you throw it down, you're done, you don't have to stake it. And if you do stake it, it comes with the stakes, you're good to go. Now, I'm gonna throw one other curveball at you. Another option. You can go on Amazon and you can just buy a tarp. It doesn't have to be these fancy things. You could just buy a tarp. I found one that was like 4 feet by 6 feet, which is huge. And it was like $7 or $8, something like that. And it's way more durable. Like, make no mistake, regardless that they say rip stop and all that fun stuff, these are very thin nylon. And the props of your craft will slice it no problem. You know, even on mine, I can show you where I had a little bit of an incident. Whoa, ah, jeez. Oh, that's the other thing. This is 2 layers. This side that's the light orange is 1 layer, and then this side is a 2nd layer. So you can see I usually use the brighter color orange, and if I bring this up here, you can see right here I have a hole, but it's only on this 1st layer. The 2nd layer underneath is, you know, unscathed. I do have another one over here too. There's a rip up and everything. So I do have some damage to this. So it's not that it's impenetrable. However, a tarp would be way more impenetrable because it's like plastic coated and it can handle the abuse that a prop would present to it. And I mean, granted, they won't fold up as small as this, and they'll need to be staked down because again, they're just, you know, floppy. You just lay them out and put the stakes in. But for new pilots, that might be a really welcome thing because to try to land on a 3-foot circle is not, I don't want to say it's hard, But if you're new, it's also not easy to get it like perfect, just like hover in, because remember, as you're going slow, your up tilt camera, you don't even really know what's directly below you, so you have to kind of estimate, and then you disarm and you drop onto it and stuff. Or if you want to try to really like just land it down, it can be difficult. So there are times when actually when I go out flying and I really, you know, it's wet, snow, I'll pull out like an 8-foot long tarp that I'll stake down so that this gives me a very large area of just dry that I can come in hot. I can come in with I can, you know, something's not working right, I can just come in, drop my craft, and I don't have to really worry about it because I have a big giant area of dry. So your mileage may vary. You may love this, you may hate this. Again, it's another question mark item in my mind where it might be awesome for some and others will be like, this is garbage, I don't need this. So just throwing it out there. And lastly, we have the T-Motor 50 amp ESC. And this is basically, if I remember correctly, last month we did get the Pacer F7 flight controller. So this would be like the perfect match made in heaven to that product. It is a 50 amp, it's BL Heli 32, so it's got all the bells and whistles. You really couldn't ask more out of an ESC. Well, maybe you could, but compatible up to 6S, so it doesn't even matter what battery style you're using as long as it's lower than 6S. It's pretty solid, pretty awesome choice. And, you know, just as a side note though, if you are intending to want to go and purchase this, when I was shopping around, pretty much everyone has it for $49.99 except T-Motor's actual direct website. They have it for like $45 or something like that. So if you're looking to buy one of these, you can save a couple bucks buying it from T-Motor directly, but I sort of omitted that from my cost analysis because it's just their site, and I didn't even look into see how much it would cost for shipping because I don't know where, if it's even shipping from, you know, here or China or wherever. So, but just as a heads up, you might want to go check that out if you are looking to pick one of these up. So as we come down here to the bottom, then you see that this meets my criteria of a decent box. So if you're not familiar, my criteria for a decent box, a mystery box, is that it offers $20 over the cost or 25%, whichever comes first in the comparisons, because I feel like these are mystery boxes. I'm sacrificing my choice of what I want to put in this box to get value in return. And I feel like a $20 exchange is a baseline good deal to warrant going for these boxes. And with this box, we're at just under $22 and we're at 27% over the cost of the box, which is perfect. That's awesome. Frankly, I was hoping for a little bit, you know, like on the higher end side of my gauge, just so that it could maybe help balance off the poop that we had from last month's box. So is this box right for you? Well, you'd have to ask yourself, are you okay with receiving these items? I will say though that this is a $49.99 item. The box costs $49.99 to buy. If you bought this, you'd probably have to have it shipped. The box had to be, you have to pay to have it shipped. So it's really like you bought this ESC and then you got a free fly mat, a free gear bag, and 3 free sets of props. Kind of how you look at it, which is not that bad of a deal. So if you are thinking about subscribing to the FPV Crate, please go down in the description. There will be an affiliate link to sign up for the FPV Crate. It helps me out tremendously. So if you are going to sign up for the FPV Crate, please go and use that link. It doesn't cost you anything additional. However, it does help support this channel, and I thank you. And while you're at it, make sure you hit that subscribe button, you know, or actually it's over there, I think. But either way, hit that subscribe button too. We're trying to get to 3K subs. So now let's talk about the running totals for FPV Crate. So let's take a look at those now. So to give you a kind of a tour, this is normally where I would do like a comparison, but there are no other mystery boxes for our hobby to compare to, so we'll just work with this. And it shows you sort of what you can expect and what you can get out of FPV Crate. So that first line there is what happened in 2019 when FPV Crate launched in July, all the way through the end of the year, and how much value was obtained. That second line there is basically what happened in 2020. Now, one interesting thing, if you compare from July to December, which is like 5 months, you got like $200 worth of value. So clearly they were trying to really boost, you know, to get subscribers in. Then for all of 2020, so that's 12 months of time, you only got about $70 additional. So now with that considered, what I'm going to do is I feel like the 2019 data is more like historic data. It's sort of like the honeymoon period, and it's also pre-pandemic, which we know there's no question that the pandemic has created essentially the new normal for our hobby as far as people's expenditures and what they're able to afford, and their spending and buying habits have certainly changed. So I feel like the 2019 data is great, and I'm going to just keep it in for historic data, but as far as using it for future calculations, I don't think that that's really, it doesn't really make sense because it sort of skews the data. So that's why it's grayed out in that dark color. It won't be part of the calculations, but feel free to use them if you wish to use it in your own calculations. Now, moving forward down there, now we can see the total for 2020 and 2021. We're at $332 and some change there. We have a total average box value of about $15.84 over the cost of the price that we paid. That's not the total for just the box, it's the total over the cost. As well, the percent saved is about 20.9%. So as you can see, the totals here overall are a little bit subpar to my normal baseline. And the reason for that is several. One is that in 2020, we have COVID, and we still currently have COVID issues. However, that put a really big problem as far as people having disposable incomes. That put a problem into supply chain issues. So it really, I feel like our hobby took a big hit to that. And hopefully now we're on the, path of recovery. Also, the February box for FPV Crate, I hate to harp on it, but it was duty when it comes to value that was provided to us. So that will also bring down averages. What I also wanted to see is I want to sort of have like the projected. What does 2021 hold for FPV Crate if we continue down the path that we're currently on? So what I did was I basically took from January to this month, so right now I only got 3 months worth of data points, and projected what it would look like if we continue down this same path. Like if this becomes the regular, what will happen by the end of the year? And you can see that we'll be at $221 of savings. We would be at an $18.46 average per box, and we would be a total percent savings of about 23%. Now, obviously, each time we get one of these boxes each month, I'm going to be updating this, and the more data points we have, the more accurate the numbers become. And since we are going to be closer to the end of the year, it'll also become more accurate, with December's box being the most accurate, since it will actually be it won't be projected anymore because we'll have all the data points. Get what I'm saying? Okay, cool. Overall, to me, that tells me that 2021 is definitely on an upswing, since our totals, based on what we've already received, are definitely better than the totals as a whole for everything we've received in the past. So that is good news for me, good news for you. Like I've said before though, my only concern is I really don't like that there is no competition. It's really, it's very easy for FPV Crate right now to go complacent, not worry so much about providing great value, because there's no fear that you're gonna go to the other guy who's creating more value. It's really just, do you take it or you leave it? And yes, that is a valid concern, and as FPV Crate is a business, they want to maintain all their subscribers, but it's a lot, I don't know how to explain it exactly, but it's sort of like if, the grass is always greener on the other side, except if there's no other side, then you don't really have anything to compare to, so you sort of or become more tolerant to less value. You know what I'm trying to say? People will have a higher tolerance to receive less value because the other option is zero, versus going somewhere else that could provide more value. That's my only concern with this, but at least for the March box, it's looking good. I'm very pleased. Me personally, I think I can totally find a use for this gear bag in some form. The ESC absolutely would pair great with the Pacer F7 flight controller we received last month. It's like, it's basically they're giving you the stack in two halves. And like I said, even though I like my spring-loaded deal, you know, I can definitely find some use for this, or if not, maybe I'll just give it away to one of my buddies who doesn't have one, because usually when I show up, I'm the one with the landing pad. I throw it out and then everyone uses it. We all take off and land from it. So maybe someone there doesn't have one when I'm not there, and they'd be like, hey, you know, here you go, have some fun. I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, lots of value here. Glad to see that, you know, we had a good recovery from last month's, and overall, I'm pretty happy. I'm also kind of excited. I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little excited to try these bi-blades, just because I really am not into bi-blades, but it's good to explore, good to try new things, expand your horizons. That's kind of why I like these mystery boxes, because you'll get things like I would never in a million years go and buy these props at all, ever. Like I wouldn't even look at them. When I search for props that I'm gonna go buy, I don't even look at, you know, two-bladed props. But now I have some. Why don't I try them out? See, maybe they'll be a game changer for me. Maybe, you know, when I'm doing like exploratory, or I'm doing just kind of whatever, just cruising, flying, maybe they're perfect for me. I don't know, but I'll have to find out. And the only way to find out is to have them, and I wouldn't have bought them otherwise. So I kind of like that aspect of mystery boxes. All right, so as always, my name's Tronage. Fly strong.